Hey everybody. Alright, today for our cooking class I'm going to be making homemade bread. It seems like a difficult process, and there are some steps, but it is really worth it. You know, it could be a fun family project to make bread together because it is so good once you actually eat it. I've helped Melanie a little bit with her making bread, but it's pretty much been her. But she's given me a lot of guidance as to how to do it. This is the first time though that I'm going to be adding in, or we're going to be adding in fresh herbs. So the first step is to mince these herbs. So right now I have about, I think it's about 2 ounces of rosemary and about 2 ounces, I mean they're not exactly the same, but about 2 ounces of thyme. But it should really bring out the flavor and everything. But the first thing you want to do is you want to rinse it off. You know, because I got these from outside, and you know, with everything that goes on outside, you don't know exactly what's on it, but you rinse them. Then you dry them. Make sure that all that moisture is gone. And then what we're going to do is mince them. And so you take your knife and you want to just mince them into a nice little mince. Because you don't want like a giant splash of either of these herbs, really. But you want it to distribute evenly as it goes through, as you go through the recipe. And so the more you mince it, the more evenly it will be distributed. And it smells fantastic. I mean, it's just amazing. We have a big rosemary bush outside, and you know, people come around all the time and they take rosemary, and you know, I love it. We actually have to cut it back, it's gotten so big. So if any of you need some rosemary, believe me, fresh rosemary. And it's best to have it fresh. You know, you can do dried, but the freshness of this will really incorporate so much more flavor as we bake. And again, this is more of a baking class. It's not a cooking class, it's a baking class. So we're baking today. So like I said, you get it's about just enough, really it's just like a sprig, 1 sprig of rosemary. And then I got about 2.5 sprigs of thyme. But you know, you just want to even them out as much as possible because they're very strong flavors. Wonderful flavors, but also very strong. Alright, so we're going to chop this down and get it to where it's looking nice. And yeah, sometimes it takes a little while. But you want to make sure that you actually have this down, so that once it's incorporated into the bread, you're going to have a wonderful, I mean, it's already going to taste fantastic, because fresh bread really always does. But this just adds, that gives it that extra oomph, just as, like, oh, got a little flavor of that. And you put, you know, make a sandwich out of it. Honestly, Melanie and I really just kind of eat it as bread, you know, like, I buy bread from the store, I don't eat it just as bread most of the time. But when you make fresh bread, you're like, yeah, I just want a slice of bread. Like it is so very good. And it pairs so well with so many different things that you can have. So now we have minced, and we are ready to go. I'm going to mince the rosemary just a little bit more. Like I said, I just want to make sure that it's incorporated all the way through. And it smells so good even just mincing it. It's fantastic. Alright, So our next step is I need 1.5 cups of warm water. I have a thermometer here, but really it's lukewarm water. So what I do is, and Melanie showed me this, is just kind of run your tap, and you can put your thermometer on the tap. Once it hits 100 degrees, then you know you can add that 1.5 cups. And I've got my measuring cup here. And so once it's 100 degrees, then I know that I can just add the water right to it, put it in here, and then we'll move on from there. So let's get this water getting a little warm. Turn this on. Turn on the power. And you can just run the thermometer through there. Okay, and this is too hot. So now I have to scale it back down just a little bit. A little bit warmer. A little bit warmer. Okay. And there we are. We're where we want to be. So now I'm going to fill this up to 1.5 cups, which is 12 ounces. We take this, and I'm going to put this into my bowl. So that's in there. And this is nice and clean, so only water's been in it. Then what I want to do is I want to scoop up the herbs. I'm going to add those in there for some wonderful flavor. But I also don't want this water to cool down too much, so time is of the essence. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add yeast. So 1 packet of yeast. That's what you want, 1 packet, which will help everything rise. And the warm water actually activates the yeast. So yeast is essential. So you add the yeast. And then we're going to add, and like I said, 1 packet of yeast. And then where is it? And then 2.5. Give me 1 second.